See, like I have a problem. Like my technology abilities are pretty bad, so I apologize for that. Anyway, welcome to Piece of Pat Paints. I can't remember to turn those speakers off. So I'm always in here listening to something on the computer and stuff like that, and I always forget to switch it over. But we're gonna get there. I promise. One of these days, I'm gonna have it all streamlined, and I'll get used to it. Just, you know, that's how it goes. Sometimes. Anyway, kind of a cloudy, rainy day out here, which is, you know, honestly some of my favorite weather. I like a cool, cloudy, rainy day. Always have. It's probably because I'm, you know, my family comes from cold, rainy places ancestrally. All right. So, we were working on Mr. Szeras, but I did want to show this one off. I got this key cat is done for the most part. I'm calling it done anyway. We gotta let. I might do one more round on the floor, but it actually is looking pretty good. So I may just leave it. It's kind of a nice wood look to it. Anyway, she was a lot of fun. This is a little something I'm working off camera for our D&D game. This is Kristen's Tabaxi Trickster Sorcerer. Pretty interesting. Anyway, so I know some folks have you know, watched to see all the little things we do, and so that one's a fun one. But we are currently trying to get Mr. Szeras here to where we want him. And we were working on this power weapon, which is what we are going to continue to work on now. It's good we got a chance to let it dry a little bit. We're going to be able to come in here and do a lot more with the blending because of it. And we'll cue up a little music. I hope you guys are enjoying your day. I know I am. I'm nice. It's nice to be back on our normal time slot. Although it seemed like that time slot worked out pretty good. I'm driving all the way to Tulsa and back, and then doing a show was a lot of fun. Well, I didn't have to do that again today. But you know, it's interesting. When I was younger, I used to be able to make that kind of drive all the time. It wasn't a big deal at all. Now it's like, whoa. So we kind of want to, with this blend up, get it to shine the most in certain areas and dull out the most in others. There's a little bit of a trick to it. This is the first time doing it in a long time, so I kind of got to get my work down. But like, there's a line, and you can kind of see I kind of got it going. I got to finish it up right here and pull a little bit more that way. You can see these two little lines run this way of that lighter green. Whoa, man, the wind is blowing like crazy out there. And then the next line is supposed to kind of start right here. So I kind of had this off, which is what I'm going to fix this line first. That's looking a whole lot better. Make a little correction on this guy. And it needs to be a little shallower. This stuff gets a little, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. Because you gotta match this line up with this line and so forth, so on and so forth. And it just takes a little practice. And sometimes you kind of gotta go back over what you did, and that's all right. As long as you keep your layers pretty shallow, this isn't a big deal. You definitely got to work real thin when you do this. If you haven't done it in a while, or if you're doing it for the first time, definitely just kind of take your time, relax, listen to some chill music. Heck, come listen to me talk. I'm pretty chill most of the time. And if I'm not chill, we're usually having a laugh, which is always good. Okay. All right, I'm going to take our line from there. So you kind of check your lines. I'm trying to make sure I've got the line kind of going as straight as I can. It's going to kind of help it look like it's transitioning across the piece, which is, you know, that's the main idea. Because we want it to look, you know, like it's shimmering down the deal. There we go. I have to put just a little bit more of that light green in there because of the way that curve is lining up for us. We'll definitely have to come by and touch up some more of the edges, the edge highlighting. But there we go. Alright, so speaking of, come back here and very gently touch up all these little edge highlights. It takes a little bit of time and patience and practice. I want this line to actually kind of be underneath this one, because it's meeting up on a different like line, frequency or whatever. I want it to blend a little bit more like the one we've got down below. Come on now. There's a little paint on there. There we go. And just a little bit more shimmer to the top of this. We're going to probably come back and do a little bit of white on that bit. And I'm going to fade it down here at the bottom. There we go. Now we're starting to look like we're going somewhere. Okay. Okay, now we're just going to take this little bit of white and just here in the very edges of this, we're going to do just touches of white just to bring it up. This part always makes me super nervous because once you get to here, you really don't want to mess it up. It gets infinitely more complicated to fix once you start getting to these points here. There's only a few little places that need this little bit of white. You're not trying to do this all over. Basically, we're trying to grab some of these more, the highest parts of that little shimmer effect we're trying to create. Oof. This brush is not happy today. Does not want to stay together. It's weird, I just cleaned him. And then we'll let that tone down a little bit. As it dries, it might come down, and it might not. Might need to put a little bit more of our green back in there. But white is real tricky. It does like to kind of come down a lot. So think that needs a little bit more green coming out that direction. We might decide we want to put more of the lime green on everywhere once we get this highlight to finish drying out, to get it a little bit more, I don't know, a brighter glow instead of so dark. But I wanted to get things started before I did all that. Get an idea of what it looked like first, if that makes sense. I'm going to switch over to this other one. That super small brush was getting super angry about being used the way it was. He didn't like it, so we're going to switch. This guy may like it a little bit better. And we're just going to give a little bit of a light dusting of that lighter green. Kind of expanding out from where we were. Firm up some of these edge highlights where we're here. Sometimes you don't know what you want to do till you get the most contrasted spots done first. You're like, oh, okay, well that's the limits. Now let's fill in the rest. So you kind of got to feel your way into those first limit stages and then kind of cycle back through them. At least that's how I do it. There's a whole bunch of ways to do miniature painting, so, you know, find what light works for you. Honestly, that's what you should do it. My technique is definitely not for everybody. Yeah. That's really starting to fade into those higher highlights, which is what we want to do. The way it looks like it's kind of crackling with energy, so to speak. If it's just a little too much white, like I said, we can always kind of come over the top. Excuse me, FedEx is here. Be quiet. My apologies, folks. I'm back. Just had to sign my name real quick for a little package that I don't even know really what it is. It's for Miss Kristen. Might be something interesting. If it were mine, we could open it on there. Unless it was Bill's. We don't want to open it, Bill's. It's not. It feels like making pictures or something. I don't know. Yep, let's chill that out just a little bit. Okay. Now we're starting to look. Now it's starting to look right. Okay. We'll do up his little glowing orb. Don't be afraid to kind of haphazardly leave that paint on that surface. We want it to kind of swirl and use the texture of the paint to create a bubbling effect, kind of like we did here, where we kind of steepled on some of that. We're going to do kind of the same thing here. A little bit bigger. All right. Do a little edge highlighting here. On this edge. And then we're going to have to figure out how we're going to get to that bottom blade. Don't want to just leave it plain. Oh, coffee just think help me think. It sure is looking great, isn't it? Okay. You can see I'm just kind of brightening it up as I go. I want that dark green to kind of pop through every so often, especially kind of down towards my edges. And then we're covering up that little bit of white that I put at the top. And this is going to make that really glow up a little bit more. We might end up doing that here in his spine a little bit just to get it to pop. And we'll have to do that back side of that blade, which will be fun and terrifying. This is the way we like it. If it's not scaring you a little bit, then you're gonna get over. You might get overconfident, make a mistake. That's what I tell myself. Don't want to get too cocky. Ooh. You guys gotta let the air out of your lungs for just a second. Let that go. That's looking pretty sick. Oh, hey, I did. So I was able to pick up some of these guys, which is really what you want to do this. And I'll show you this little trick. First I'll show you what they look like when you buy a whole bunch of them. So you can buy like a whole pack of them, you know. And you can get these on the cheap at like, any place they sell cosmetics. They're just like eye shadow brush sponge on a stick. You can see where we put in our wash the other day, you can take this and it'll rub off the wash even days later, because I haven't sprayed this with the finisher yet, so this will come off in the places where we want it to come off. I already did a little bit of it, but with my finger moving it around. But some of these places down in here, it's gonna be harder to reach with like a finger or something. So it's nice to have something like this where you can really get in there and you can get that done. So now we've shined that up, but we've left that inside in with the funk, which is what we're trying to do. Because we want to show off some of this metal. And we're going to highlight some of it. So we want some of it to have that old dirty look, but not all of it. Especially up towards the tops. And see, most of it's coming off from my thumb moving around. But, you know, you can use it to shine up all sorts of things. Like it'll shine that up too. You keep working at it. It would shine that back up all the way. We don't want to do that, but especially because it might just rip him right apart. He's so delicate. I'm always scared of painting this guy. Okay. Alright, over here, let's do his eyeball. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to come down here at the bottom, and I want to kind of fill that in a little bit. With that. I want to put just like a tiny little bit of white at the very top. We're going to let that set up for just a second. And we might end up putting a little bit of lime green on top of it. We're going to do the same thing over here. We had the phthalo blue first. So we're going to put our deep turquoise, which is just slightly higher, over top of that, and then a little white dot. That one definitely is going to need to have it a little bit over painted. A little too much. A little too much white. Here we go. I think that might do a little more of that green too. That definitely makes it shine. Now he's got like a, I don't know if the camera will focus on that tiny little eyeball of his. But, you know, he got a little dot where he's looking for him. What else do we need to do in here? Okay. I think just a little bit. I think maybe we're going to need a touch of white on that, actually. We'll come back to it a bit. Just barely putting it on there. Just kind of make it stand right out. Bada bing, bada boom. And if you feel like, yeah, I feel like maybe I got a little too fat here, I can always come back, kind of trim it out a little bit, and it'll be just fine. Oof. This is always the hard ones, where they're on the inside. Got it. A little sloppy that time. I'll have to come back and fix it. Okay. Just slightly off here. So we're going to kind of obscure it a little bit with phthalo green, and we're going to let it hang out and dry for a minute. We'll come back. Alright, so same thing here. We're going to start by outlining it, getting our edge highlight kind of marked out. So, it's going like that. This should definitely be where this one starts. I just wanted to get that line up to that edge because we're actually going to alternate them from the top and the bottom in a different way. Okay. Ooh, the rain's making me sleepy. Or maybe it's the music. I think I went the wrong direction. Okay. So, I did. It's supposed to be going this way. Whoops. That's what we want it to do. We want it to be right here. I should have started at the top. Wasn't quite thinking right. We'll blame the rain. I always get kind of confused when I gotta go upside down or whatever it is. You go to the other side and I'm like, oh, it's gotta go that way, and I always get backwards. But I usually fix it before I get too far off. That's why I always kind of want to check my stuff. And I highly recommend that you do too. Just kind of keep looking around at it. Say, okay, well, am I really going where I want to go? Especially if you feel like you're doing something that's not right. Like, this feels wrong. Like, well, because it is. Okay. And come this way. Yeah, here we go. Now we're starting to figure something out. That one to that one. Quiet day today. I'm quiet too. Maybe I should start talking more. If I start talking more, maybe people will show up. Who knows? If not, we're just going to sit here and continue to paint. I am feeling like I'm getting a little quiet. Definitely should pipe up a little bit. Okay. I need to hold on just a second and think. Think. Okay, this part of this blade is going to need to get done to correspond with that. See the top, the edge blade. Because that's the top, edge, and then top. Okay. So top, edge. That's that edge one. This top should actually come through right here. We're too far down. That's part of what we did. Like we did the first time, we want to get these, get the most extremes figured out first, and then come back and do all the rest of the fade. I was a lot better at this, but I'm definitely getting back to it. It's taken me a little while to remember exactly how to do it. Maybe I should have watched a video or two. That would have helped. That's alright. I felt like I remembered it well enough. It looks like we're doing okay now. Okay, so if that's true, let's think about moving this up. Okay, so this next shimmer should be right here instead. Yeah. There we go. Alright, now let's fill in with these edge highlights. A little harder to get to those little boogers, at least at that angle. So we're going to do a little bit of a change up. these things always kind of look a mess till you really start finishing them up. It's so funny to me that, like, you're like, oh god, it looks awful, it looks awful, it looks awful. And then all of a sudden, you know, you just work through all the little bits, and you work through all the little do this, do that, and then you're done. You're like, oh wow, it actually turned out okay. One of the fun parts about certain techniques is that you get that feeling of like you almost feel like you've messed up at first, and then it all starts coming together. Mm-hmm. Do-do-do-do. Edge highlighting, yay, yay, yay. This stuff will make you crazy. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This needs to come up just a little bit higher to match up with this. That's part of where my problem is. And that's the thing is, once you start kind of highlighting it out, you start seeing where your flaws are too. That's part of why you do it. You do all these little parts to it, because you're like, okay, we'll do this, do this, do this. And then you kind of see where it's not quite working, where it is kind of working, and you're like, okay, I need to trim that up. I need to change that. We tried to do that before, and I went and did it again when it came too far over, thinking I would have. I was seeing what I was seeing, and I'm not seeing it right. So you gotta kind of, gotta train yourself to be willing to look over your own stuff and acknowledge your own errors. Kind of blank that out for just a second. We're going to let it dry. Or we'll find ourselves a little something new to listen to. Well, not new. I mean, it's going to sound kind of the same, I suppose. There we go. Just had to hit the button. Okay. Need just a second and take a little bit of coffee and take a little deep breath and get back to that. Thanks to everybody who comes by. I really appreciate everybody who stops in. Feel free to comment, converse about whatever you'd like. I like to talk about a wide range of wide range of topics. So, you know, holler. It's a whole lot more fun when I've got I got a couple people chatting with me, but I also don't mind kind of coming in and saying stuff every now and again, just by myself. Kind of directing what I'm doing. So now we're getting closer to getting this lined up properly. And that's the good part about doing this live, is that you really get to see, you can see my errors and see that, okay, well, everybody makes mistakes and they can still come out looking really great. Kind of like old Bobby over there used to say, if you're a fan of Bob Ross. Happy accidents. In my opinion, there's not really a whole lot of accidental things on. There's always something to learn, you know. So it is a happy accident. That's what I'm trying to say. There we go. Now we're getting it working. Now we're getting it going. Alright, now keep running this edge highlighting. See if we can't get this guy to come out just right for us. Don't forget to breathe. Kind of just keep breathing your way through it. Now let's see here. I want to kind of do another. So this one should come through right about here. And a lot of this should be this way, and this guy needs to come down just a little bit more on this blade like we had it before. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. I'm starting to blend one blade into the next. Oop. Okay. And it should be this one. There we go. I think I got it now. Okay. Takes just a lot of it's almost like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you really kind of are. You're kind of trying to layer it up as you go with this particular deal. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I got to do to get it to come out the way I want it. It just takes a little bit of, a little bit of time. A little bit of patience. Sometimes moving the model, I really feel like I figured it out now. They flipped it over this way, which is, kind of ridiculous, but whatever. So this one should be more this color. Can you make a figure of Goku from Nico PK? I suppose so. If I could get a Goku, I could definitely paint one. The creator just passed away. I think it was like yesterday. So I got to go collect all the Dragon Balls so we can bring them back to life first. But then after that, yeah. If we get a Goku in, I can do that. I'll look and see if there's a 3D print. Goku's fun. He's with all the oranges and stuff, orange and blues and blacks on him, and he stands out really well. So he would be a fun character. He would be a fun character to paint. See if I can find one that looks good. All right, so back to trying to get these edge highlights done. There's so darn many of them. Make sure we get all these edges set up properly. And then we're going to come back with our white and start the blending. It looks very good on you. Thank you. I think. Yeah, I like. It'd be fun to do a thing, Goku, and we could do like that whole crew, Goku and Piccolo and Vegeta, and all of them would be fun. That'd be fun. I'll have to see what I can find. You can find almost anything nowadays on to 3D print. Okay, so again, the same thing we did the last time. We kind of want to get the middle where it's going to shimmer the hardest. We found out. Yeah, it was on the news. One of my news things I follow showed it. And I was like, oh, that sucks. He really did a lot of fun stuff. Like, I think a lot of people wouldn't be able to do the kind of things they do today had he not done what he did with like Dragon Ball, and it kind of changed the cultural zeitgeist of a lot of things. He will definitely be missed. All right, again, we're trying to get the most edgy edges to be that white. And we're going to come back in and smooth out all this stuff. Smooth out and tighten it. Nico Vicky said, I'm from Argentina, so my English is not very good. You're doing great, man. Really, you're doing fine. I can understand the basic gist of what you're saying. I have a friend of mine that's from Argentina. Really nice guy. We were chefs together when I used to be a chef. He was I think he still is chef. Really nice guy. He made some of the best food. Oh, steak and chimichurri. Now I gotta go have some chimichurri. I'll have to go make it myself. Got my mouth watering now. I do love me some good chimichurri. Oh. Okay. Slowly but surely getting an idea in there. It's not looking too shabby. Chill out some of that white just a little bit. Nothing compares to roast in the Thernet. Yeah, yeah, baby. Yeah, a good roast chunk of meat. Although I'm getting, in my older age, I'm getting to where I do enjoy fish and such a lot more than I did. But you can get both in our. You guys make some good food, man. I love great food. We were talking about that yesterday, and I might start a what was it, a review for food in Oklahoma. That was pretty funny. It's a fun idea. Right now we're trying to clean up some of these spots, darken out some things, fade some things over, and it's just going to kind of help make our shimmer more shimmery, I guess. It's going to look more realistic. I have friends who only come from the U.S. once a year since they work. Yeah, absolutely. And they come to eat and drink. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I have a little bit of nosh and a little bit of grub, a little bit of drinks. Good stuff, man. Go listen to some live music. That's living the good life. Well, that one, we kind of went through that one. It was interesting that we had to flip him upside down or in a different way to see where we were going, but it's all coming together now, which is great. Sometimes you just kind of gotta fiddle with it till it goes your way. I'm thinking about buying an airbrush. Would it work for shading and lighting, or should I do it by hand? So, okay, I'm doing a lot of this by hand because a lot of people don't own an airbrush. I have an airbrush. I got a pretty decent one around here somewhere. It's down there. I use it for a lot of different things, and yeah, you can definitely use it for your shadowing and your shading. You can throw zenithal highlights and stuff like that on top of there. I try not to utilize tools that are going to be a little bit more expensive and are harder for people to get a hold of. But I think every now and again we're going to pull that out and show off how you can do that, because you can get a whole lot. You can do a whole lot with airbrush that you just can't do with a paintbrush, just because of the fact that brushes drag paint across things. And so yeah, you can get a much softer look with an airbrush and a smoother look if you're doing vehicles, things like that. It works out great to go ahead and hit it with that airbrush than a hand brush, because one of these guys it's going to leave streaks in your paint. So if you're doing a vehicle, you'd of course want that. And I like having an airbrush over having, say, rattle can spray paints, just because of the environmentalness of it all. If you're really into modeling, you're really into whether it's miniatures like this or say like model cars or model planes, the airbrush is going to save you money, and it's going to save the environment in tons of cans of full of paint and things that are going everywhere. So I've been slowly switching over. I think I have like one can left of my my black primer, and then we're going to switch over to just using my airbrush to do all the priming. And I like being able to have some variations in different tools, and it does make things a lot easier. I did a lot of my Tyranids, whichever that. So the first part of that I did with an airbrush, so just make it easier. Zoom, just airbrush that real quick, and then I can come back and I can do the rest of it by hand. Just kind of speed things along. And I suppose I could have done the whole army with an airbrush too, but like I said, I wanted to get on the channel in particular. I want to kind of showcase the things that are like everybody can get their hands on. Just about anybody can order a set of brushes and get started with hand painting miniatures, but not everybody can get a hold of an airbrush, and some people just don't have the room to store that sort of thing. That's another thing with these miniatures and stuff. I love painting them and stuff, but you do get to a spot where storage is real hard to come up with, and space for storage of your miniatures plus storage of all the tools that you might be using to paint them. You got to make, there's concessions that have to get made there, and everybody's got their own, what works for them. Because works for me definitely might not work for everybody. But I like my airbrush. I definitely don't want to give that impression. I love having it. It does make some things a whole lot easier. And if it's things I'm not doing on the show, where I'm trying to showcase things, you better believe I'm probably yanking out that airbrush, and I'm going to get things done quick, just to keep yourself in time constraints and stuff like that. All right, nice little shimmeriness. All right, we gotta get that little doodah done. Nico says, I noticed you have a resin printer. I know that filament is a lot more work, but can still look good. I've been told that the other resin is very toxic. Yes, so there's certain things that are great for an FDM, and there's certain things that are better in resin. Small, tiny details print out better in your resin than in the filament. But you're more like your bigger prints. If you're looking to make something that's big, you want to do that in filament. But if you're printing in something like this, it's better to do it in resin. So it's just completely different kinds of things you need printer for. I have a filament printer too. It's just out of camera. Whenever I am running my resin printer, I shut this studio down and I'm not in here because it isn't very good for you. And we'll open the windows up, and I have a couple powerful fans that push the air out of this room and cycle the good air in, so we can keep this one going. And then we wear masks and things like that, just so you're not inundated with those fumes, because you're curing resins. So it is definitely something that you either need to be doing in a ventilated space, or like outside. Don't. I've seen a lot of different setups though. So you can have a couple of my friends bought these little tents that they use for growing plants. Anyway, and that particular thing, it has a fan that pulls the air out or puts the air in, and they put their printers in those, and then they'll run them with that in a room that they're not in, and pump the air out. So yeah, there are some precautions you want to take if you're dealing with resin printers. Just as a word to the wise, and since I have a pretty hefty, really bad lung condition in general, so I try to be very cautious about not being in here for an extended amount of time while it's printing, venting the air while it is printing, those sort of things, because it's super dangerous, and you can get really sick really quick. We close it up so that the animals aren't in here, because we don't want the animals getting in here while it's running. And you want to take precautions. But I've seen some people get some filament done pretty good. There is a level where filament does end. There's a space where it ends, but it's you'd be surprised, or some people would be surprised at how much you can get out of a filament printer. But for small details, spiky bits, the resin printer works better. Be real careful in here. I don't want to get any green on places I don't want it. Nico says, in case I inhale the toxins, I'll be eating barbecue with God. Right? I like that attitude. That's a good attitude to have, man. Yeah. I got a couple kids and a lovely lady I'm trying to stick around for. So I'm trying to take all the precautions I can, you know. But yeah, eventually I'll be up there smoking meats with angels. And on the bright side for me, it means I get to go back to making food. This is great. I miss and don't miss chefing. I definitely don't miss the long hours on your feet. But I miss the people, some amazing people I know who are chefs. Alright, we'll pull out just a little bit of this Iron Warriors because I got just a touch of green where I don't want it. Right there. Boom. I'm glad you stopped by, Nico. It's been the most entertaining part of the show today. Having a good laugh is still the best, absolute best. Okay, so let's talk about getting this spear finished up. I'm going to do one more round of this darker blue, and then we'll edge highlight it with this larger blue. So this is a phthalo blue that's going on right now. And it's had a couple bases of that go on there already. Some sort of hair on here. But yeah, the black underneath it doesn't come out as bright as you might think. And we could have probably put a white on this staff to start it, but I didn't want it to be too bright. Alright, especially because you don't want a handle, you don't want it to just scream. On this, we're definitely going to edge highlight it in a lighter blue. Super important to keep your brush wet when you do this one, because it will dry out on you pretty quick because you're using a super fine detail brush. We just want the very edges to get this lighter blue. And it's barely noticeable at first, and then it starts to kind of come to life. So this is the deep turquoise going on top of the phthalo blue. Both of these are Winsor Newton Gallery acrylics. And I think you can see that. You can see how it's starting to blew that out just a little bit. Now, when you look at it in person, there's more of a depth in the change of the colors, but it works out really well. Nico says it's difficult in Arduino to do this since the edition being so expensive, and there's not a lot of people who appreciate the work. Yeah, I imagine. Art's an interesting game. Inflation being high all around the world right now is kind of putting a damper on art, and it will for a while. And anything that's just kind of, you know, the good fun stuff. But that's, you know, the world goes through these things. You know, when I was a kid, it was kind of it's trying to claw its way back out of being in the lows. So I've gone all around the circle now, and we're back down to the really rough spot. Hopefully, you know, everybody will stop fighting with each other and we can start figuring things out. But you never know. What do I know? I'm just a painter. And this little spot with this blue is really going to help that cartouche pop out. We're probably going to go over it one more time later too, just to bring out that color. I'm actually going to get just a little bit further into it on this too, instead of just an edge highlight. We have to, like I said, we'll just repaint a little bit of that bronze back on the cartouche. Yeah, I like that a lot. Nico says, thank you very much for everything. You are a genius. I left you my subscription. I go to work. The empanadas are not paid for alone. No, they're not, my friend. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the subscription. Those are a big time for me. If I can get to if I can get to 250, we're gonna do this giant. So again, thank you so much. I appreciate all the compliments in the chat. I really do. It makes me want to keep doing these sort of things. And you have a great day at work, sir. Or madam, you don't really know when it's Nico. I imagine this is for Nicodemus, so I'm feeling that that's a guy, but I don't know. I try not to be offensive. So if I'm ever offensive, folks, it's definitely by accident. You know, at least I try not to be offensive on here. There's some places I'm sure that you know, when I'm trying to root for my son's soccer team, maybe I can get a little excited. I'm kidding. I really try not to be offensive. I think most people do. I really want to get these highlights done today before we quit. These longer episodes they're a little rough on me, but I like them. I like how much work we get done on them. It's really difficult down in here. All right. Around the top of that one. All right. Looking pretty snazzy. Okay. Now, it's a little bit different than like a dry brush. And you, of course, if you wanted to do, you could just dry brush stuff like this on there. But I felt like we needed to start showcasing some other skills as well. Plus, this looks so smooth. Yeah. All right. Well, that makes me pretty happy right there, folks. And with us clocking in at that minute or hour and a half, we're about time for me to go ahead and give it a break so that I can get up and walk around a little bit, so my old hips don't go out on me and such like that. It's always good to stand up and move around. Just everybody out there that is watching, and you know, you're a painter or whatnot, make sure you're taking good care of yourself. Make sure you're getting plenty of exercise, getting plenty of time to stand up and do other things besides painting. Not that there's anything wrong with it, getting a lot of work done, but you know, take care of yourself. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. Let's take another little quick look at all the work we got done there. The top of this is finished on both sides, and they're looking pretty good. Looks great. We got the middle of that thing rocking and rolling. We'll do the bottom of it tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow. Monday. Monday we'll do the bottom of it, and then we're almost done. We're gonna do these guys here, and then we'll be able to move into the magic and to this stuff and the stuff on the bottom, which that should go pretty quick. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for everybody who came by. Thank you to Nico for all the wonderful conversation, and all the subscribes and the likes and all those things I'm supposed to be saying thanks for, and anything I missed. So you guys are awesome, and we're gonna see you on Monday. Have a great day. Bye.